Page Kuf Yud, paragraph Hey. So remember again, still in Parak Yud Aleph, focusing on the Prate Hanikiyos. So remember in this particular chapter, the Ramchal is focusing on the Averos that often we struggle with day in and day out, and because of the commonality, or perhaps because of how easily they are transgressible, so we often fall prey to them, and sometimes again without even knowing. So we've spoken about immorality, we've spoken about theft, we've spoken about ma'achalos asuros, right, forbidden foods, all these different kinds of things. And now we're focusing a little bit on something else. So this is page Kuf Yud, paragraph Hey. Unedabra ata ala chatoim hamediniyim. Now we're going to focus on the Averos that are what he calls our social Averos. Social Averos that often we transgress just kind of as a result of our day-to-day interactions with people. Kigon, for example, hona'as devarim. So what hona'as devarim means literally hurting other people with words. Now, again, just to understand the etymological root of that phrase. So we all are familiar with ona, right? So financial ona means you overcharge someone. So ona'as devarim essentially means I overstep with my words, right? Ona'as mamon is I overcharge money. Ona'as devarim is I overstep with my words. So very often, again, as a result of day-to-day social interactions, we hurt people with words. Not lashon hara, not rechilos. This is simply, again, that I end up saying things that are hurtful to people. And again, the Isra of Onos also maybe I don't even realize that what it is that I'm doing is hurtful. Or halbanas panim, embarrassing people. Hashlachas ha'iver be'itza, going ahead and giving wrongful or deleterious advice. Right? I give advice. You can remember again with Me'iver Loside Michshol, not allowed to place a stumbling block in front of someone. I give advice. That's just not good advice. Or it's not good advice to the individual. Sirabo says sometimes the greatest challenge is people come to us for advice and I tell them something, and the truth is I tell them something because it benefits me. Right? It benefits me. Maybe it's not that that it hurts them, but it's not the best move for them, it's the best move for me. That's lifnei iver and eitza, rechilos, lashon hara, sina, nikima, hatred, animosity, revenge, shavuos, false oaths, devar shaker, lying, v'chil Hashem, and ultimately desecration of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So we'll say, what he's describing over here are averos that very often occur in the context of social relationships. Right, just day in and day out. I say things that are hurtful, I slander, I embarrass people, I give wrong advice. Kimi Yomar, page Kuf Yud Aleph, Kimi Yomar, Nikesi mehem. Who amongst us could possibly say that we are free from any type of avera like this? Taharte me'ashmam bam, ki anfehem rabim, v'dakim ad ma'od, asher hahizoher bahem torach gadol. Both says here that Ramchal is describing who could say that they are blame-free when it comes to this particular category. In other words, inevitably, I would venture to say that for many of us, day in and day out, there's at least one time that we say to ourselves, I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have said that, right? And one time is a good day, right? I shouldn't have said that, right? Whether it's a joke, or it's a wisecrack, or it's a comment, or it's a this, or it's an eitzah that I think about. Did I really tell that person something that was best for them? Or ultimately, again, was this something that was best for me? So says Ramchal, these are the challenges of everyday interpersonal interactions. And who amongst us could say that we're perfect in this area? So he goes through them now. Honas devarim bichlala. So I'll say, an example of honas devarim. Huledaber bifnei chavero levad, she'evo shmimenu. If you look at footnote 125, he says, bifnei chavero levad, kilomar, Amnam eno ma'alivo beferish, elazos bilvad huosa, shemedaber befanav dvarim hagarmim lobusha kishu shom'am. So an example of onos dvarim would be, my intention is not to embarrass someone, but I speak about something in the presence of another person that ends up embarrassing them. Again, we'll see, Malbin Pnei Chavero B'Rabbi means I intentionally embarrass someone. That's not what we're talking about. Onas Devara means I speak about something in front of someone that's embarrassing for that individual. whatever it might be. My intention is lav dafka. So over here, the intention is not to embarrass. Really, it's just a lack of sensitivity. It's just a lack of sensitivity, right? I will say, so I go ahead and I discuss in front of someone, who doesn't have children, how difficult my kids are, right? And again, these things happen all of the time, where people, my intention is not to hurt, chas v'shalom. My intention is I'm just talking, but I have a total lack of recognition as to who I'm talking to. And as a result, there's a certain embarrassment factor. He goes on. Kol shekein ha'amira beferish davar sheyivosh bo, o la'asos lo ma'isa sheyigrom lo sheyivosh. So we'll say, so Onastram tells me that what? Even if I unintentionally say something in front of someone which causes them pain, this is problematic. All the more so if the intention is to embarrass. So it's an example of embarrassing someone. If someone's a Baal Tshuva, lo yomar lo, zuchar ma'asecha harishonim. So we'll say examples of this would be, if someone's a Baal Tshuva, you don't say, so tell me, no, come on, between us, how was driving on Shabbos? Right? What is that like? Right? How is that cheeseburger? What does it tell me? Like, I'm going to go through all this list of curry stuff. Tell me, what was all of that stuff like? Right? Just give me a little bit of an insight. I'm in awe of you that you were able to leave all of that stuff. Right? But tell me, so we'll say, obviously, again, this falls into both the category of onas devarim as well as malbin pnei chavero. Another example, im hayu chaloim b'ayim alav. So we'll say, so that first example, says Ramchal, is an example of reminding someone of something that they did wrong. But ultimately, again, my intention is not to call them a sinner. That's not my intention. My intention is to go ahead and say, wow, you're such an incredible Baal Tshuva, but tell me about your past life. Another example, lo yomar lo, im hayu chaloim b'ayim alav, if a person was stricken with illness, lo yomar lo, kederach sha'amru chaverav le'iyov, zecharna mihu naki avad. We'll say this is another very interesting one. Eov's friends, when he got sick, performed a very interesting, interesting Bikur Cholim visit. They come, they say, Eov, how are you feeling? And they say, Eov, by the way, tell us, what did you do wrong? What did you do wrong? Right? Why? Because there's no such thing as illness without iniquity. No such thing as illness without sin. If HaKadosh Baruch Hu visits something upon you, you must have done something. And Eov, whatever you did, it must have been a doozy, because look at all this stuff that's happening to you. So both say, so now, again, remember, what was the intention of Eov's friends? What was their intention? Their intention was to get him to do tshuva, because meaning sincerely they felt that at the end of the day, he must have done something that would warrant this. So their intention was L'Shem Shemaim to help him. But at the end of the day, says the Ramchal, you don't do that. You just don't do that. And I both say, you'd be surprised so many times in life when people try to help, they end up ultimately again saying and doing things that are so hurtful and so harmful. So says Ramchal again, here's another example of onas devarim. I'm suffering, and you want to go ahead and play the holier than thou card. Not a good idea. He goes, so we'll have to stop over here for today. But we'll pick up with this section on Monday. And I'm going to say, so again, just so you appreciate this, and this is really profound, that Ramchal is describing over here all of the interpersonal challenges that we encounter day in and day out in our interactions. And his point is, it's almost virtually impossible to go ahead and go through the day without transgressing something. Saying something that I shouldn't say, doing something that I shouldn't do, embarrassment. But again, at least if we create a vigilance and an awareness, it at least, even if I can't totally eradicate the presence of interpersonal sin from my life, at least at the end of the day, I could significantly diminish it. All right, we'll stop here. Shkoyach. Muffins is morning. All right, Shabbos, good morning. Let's begin. We have a beautiful, beautiful daf ahead of us today. Today's daf is Tes. We are picking up on the bottom of Ches Amud Beis. I don't know if the sponsorship information. Do you have it? And I don't know. Beautiful. I'll say thank you to our Talmud Torah sponsors for this month. Adam Yudip and Zev for dedicating all of the Shiurim and Drashos Li'ilui Nishmas, Adam's grandmother, and in the grandfather. And in the Schos, right? And in the Schos of his parents. All right, so with that, let's begin. So we are picking up today's daf is Tes. We are picking up on Ches Amud Beis at the two dots. Me'uberes mishiva da ubra. So let's remember again, we're talking in the topic over here of daya shaita. So remember again, other examples of women who are daya shaita, which means that when they bleed, we assume that status of niddah begins at the time of the showing of blood and is not backed up retroactively. So one of the examples was a pregnant woman when her pregnancy becomes known. So says the Gemara, V'kama hakaras ha'ubar. We'll say it's a very interesting discussion. So at what point in time is the pregnancy known? So the Gemara says, Sumchos or Mishum Rabbi Meir, Shlosha Chadashim. Sumchos says the name of Rabbi Meir, 3 months. That once 3 months have passed, that's called hukar ubra. So we'll say what that also presumably means is what? If she's 3 months pregnant, that means what? That for the last 3 months, she also has not become a niddah, which also means that she has a cheskas misulakes damim. Right? Remember again, 3 is always the magic number. If she doesn't bleed for 3 months, we assume that again she's not going to bleed, and therefore if there is a discharge of blood, we assume that is daya shaita. And even though says the Gemara, we have no explicit proof for this. We have a zecher, which means even though I don't have an explicit pasuk, I have a pasuk that is merames. Shene'emar vayikim mishalosh chadashim megomer. So let's listen to this. It quotes the pasuk ultimately by where? By Yehuda and Tamar, right? That Tamar's pregnancy became known at what point in time? After 3 months. So the Gemara says, you see from here, at least the remez to the idea that the pregnancy becomes known, so to speak, after 3 months. So I'll say, so again, just to understand, what we're talking about over here is, at what point in time do we assume daya shaita? So now the Gemara is saying, after she's 3 months pregnant, and again, I'm just telling you the backdrop to that is, after she's 3 months pregnant, and presumably therefore also has not bled for 3 months, if she sees blood, we assume daya shaita. Where do we see this from? A zecher to it, ultimately from Tamar. So the Gemara says, Zecher ledavar, kraksiv rai gedoli. Why does the Gemara says, I understand this is a good pasuk. This isn't just a zecher ledavar. The pasuk seems to be pretty explicit. Mishum deikal lialda tesvik lialda l'shiv. So we'll see this again in the Gemara, that ultimately again in the eyes of Chazal, there were 2 different periods of time for proper delivery, either at the end of 7 months or the end of 9 months. So because of that, ultimately not every woman goes to 9 months, and therefore halacha lamaisa that 3 month is for a 9-month pregnancy, but it could be that other women deliver earlier. Therefore the pasuk is a zecher, not an explicit raya. Fine. Tana Rabbanan. Hari shahaisa becheskas mu'beres v'ra'as adam v'achar kachi pila ruach ol kol davar shinu shel kayama hari hi becheskas daya shaita. So this is very interesting as well. Let's say a woman was pregnant and then she miscarries. But she miscarries what the Gemara calls ruach. So ruach, Rabbi say, literally means air. We're going to get into this topic, but essentially what it means is she miscarries something that was clearly never a viable pregnancy. So therefore, essentially she was pregnant, but it turns out that she was never pregnant with anything viable. So what's ta'alacha? Hari b'cheskasa v'daya shaita. Ultimately, again, Abba says, even though it turns out that halacha lemaisa, that she wasn't quote unquote really pregnant with anything viable, nevertheless, her daya shaita status still remains retroactively intact. And we don't say that now that it turns out that she wasn't really quote unquote pregnant, therefore we don't apply daya shaita. And even though again there's no raya to this, there's a zecher to the Shnei Amar. Quotes the pasuk over here from Yeshaya, Harinu, we became pregnant, Chalnu kimo yaladnu ruach. So we'll say the Navi Yeshaya over here is actually like lamenting the plight of Klal Yisrael became pregnant, and ultimately again we gave birth to wind. So the pregnancy represents potential, the giving birth to wind represents the loss of that potential. So you see over here that the Navi uses the lashon of harinu, of pregnancy, together with what we call wind, even a non-viable pregnancy. My zeicher l'davar. So we'll say, why is this called? So we'll say, so just to understand what this is saying over here, is I might have thought the havamina is, we established that once a woman is pregnant, hukar ubra blasi, once hukar ubra, daya shaita. So I might have thought that if she then miscarries and gives birth to something that is not, that is clearly quote unquote not a pregnancy, that retroactively I would say, oh, she's not daya shaita, because retroactively I see now that she wasn't really quote unquote pregnant. Therefore, the Gemara says that's not the case, and halacha l'maisa, we still keep her daya shaita status intact. Where does the Gemara learn that from? The zeicher l'davar. It's from the pasuk in Yeshaya that says even though again it's wind, she's still considered pregnant. To which the Gemara says zeicher l'davar raya gedoli. Why is it just a zeicher? After all, again, this seems like a very good proof. Ki ksiv haikra b'scharim ksiv. So it's interesting enough, says the Gemara, when is this pasuk mentioned? This pasuk is mentioned in the context of men. Hers will say it's written in the masculine over here. So ultimately, again, therefore it's a zecher, not a raya. Or minis. Gemara is the kasha. Kashta shnayim u'shlishi, kashta shnayim v'lishlishi pila ruach, al kal davar shinu shal kayama, harei zu yoledes bezov. So we'll get into this discussion as well. Let's say a woman goes ahead and bleeds in the midst of a hard labor. Kashta means she's having a hard labor, and she bleeds over the course. This is a 3-day labor. She goes ahead and she bleeds over the course of the labor, and she delivers on the 3rd day of the labor. So the Gemara says, and it turns out that what she delivers is ruach, o davar shel kayama, totally non-viable substance. So the Gemara says, because when I say substances, it might not even have the form of a baby. It might not be anything. It might even be just an amniotic sac without anything there. That's why the Gemara uses the lashon of ruach. So what's the halacha? She is considered to be a yoledes bizov. She's considered to be a zava gidola. If you look at Rashi, kashta shnei yamim b'soch achad asar yimei zov u'lishlishi nami rasa v'achar kach epila ruach babayom v'lo shafsa min atzar harei leida zo b'zov u'tzricha shiva nekiyim v'karban lezivasa t'chevan delav vlad hu havi zivasa. Well, just give a little bit of context. We'll get into this sugya, but I think I mentioned this last week, is that in the halachic calendar, essentially we work on 18-day models. 7 days of Niddah, 11 days of Zava. We'll discuss how that calendar works. But a woman is giving birth in the midst of those 11 days. She goes in and she bleeds 3 consecutive days, and what? She gives birth to something totally non-viable. So what's the halacha rabosai? She's a Zava Gidola. What's a Zava Gidola? Any woman who experienced 3 missions. So in this case over here, she bled on 3 days. She thought it was labor. It turns out that she gives birth to something non-viable, and therefore Allah Chalamai says she is a Zava Gidola. To which the Gemara says, but why? Vi'i amrit leida ma'al yasahi. But if you just establish that what? That halacha lemaisa, so even giving birth to ruach is considered to be leida, because after all we said that retroactively her daya shaita status remains, then koshi samach leleida rachmanatare. We'll say any blood that comes as a result ultimately again of labor is free from any type of zivus. So what's happening over here? Amra papi hanach me'is la'is d'rabbanan. So Papi says the truth is don't bring in a discussion of me'is la'is over here. Ultimately again because it is d'rabbanan. That halacha l'maisa, a leida of ruach is not a leida. If that's the case, then why not go back retroactively and say that she wasn't daya shaita when she was quote unquote pregnant? Because me'is la'is is a dirabanan. We're not going to go back and retroactively apply chumra dike dirabanans. Okay? Papa Amar, midihu taima el mishum dirasha kavid aleh ve'ivareha kavedin aleh. So I'll say it's actually very interesting. So the Gemara says, why is it that a pregnant woman is considered to be daya shaita? Right, so a woman is pregnant, and again we've established pregnant at what point in time is halachic? Is she considered halachically pregnant? What point? Right, is 3 months. We'll say just so you should understand. It's actually we'll discuss this, but it's a fascinating amount of halachic literature as well in terms of what happens today. We have pregnancy tests, so ultimately, again, you could tell if a woman's pregnant much earlier on. So remember, all of these things have incredible ramifications. Because for Vestos, we'll get into all of this, but I'm just pointing out, the Gemara's understanding 3 months is when she's considered to be pregnant. So then at that point in time, Daya Shaita. Any time before that, within the 3 months, if she bleeds, we'll say Me'is La'is. If she doesn't have a Vestos, we'll see all the variations. So the Gemara says, why is it that a pregnant woman is Daya Shaita? Because we assume that a pregnant woman doesn't bleed. Why do we assume that a pregnant woman doesn't bleed? So the Gemara says, because Eveireha Kaveidin Aleha. Russia literally means her head and her limbs are heavy. So say this is the lashon that Chazal employed to essentially say that the entire vitality of a woman's body is directed towards nurturing and nourishing the fetus. And as such, again, her body is heavy on her, so to speak, and therefore, again, she does not bleed. That's how Chazal termed it. Okay, so we know scientifically we understand why a woman is not bleeding ultimately when she's in Niddah, but this is how Chazal termed it. This was the lashon they gave to it. That literally, again, her body is heavy, she's fatigued, the vitality is directed towards nurturing the fetus, and therefore there's no menstruation. So the Gemara says, Hachanami, Rosha ve'evar kveilana. So we'll say if that's the case, then interestingly enough, any process or any biological process that mimics pregnancy is going to have the same din as Daya Shaita. Therefore, even halacha l'maisa, if it turns out that she miscarries and gives birth to a ruach, right, to literally like nothing, so halacha l'maisa, again, the fact that the birth was quote unquote a ruach, doesn't take away from the fact that what her body was going through was mimicking the same biological process as pregnancy. If that's the case, then halacha l'maisa, we will in fact apply Daya Shaita. Beautiful. What's the interest case? What happens if she sees blood and then right afterwards hukar ubra? So we'll say, how does this happen? So simply put, she sees blood and literally again 5 minutes later she enters into the point of the 3 month mark. Right. Remember again. So she sees blood, and then a few minutes later passes the threshold of 3 months. So I'll say, Mahu, what's the halacha? Kevan deba'ina dechazai lahukar ubra mitamya. So I'll say, do we say that on one hand, at the time that she saw, she had not passed the halachic threshold of hukar ubra. She had not entered into the 3 months, or she had not passed 3 months. And therefore, halacha l'maisa, we don't say daya shaita, she'll be metame me'is la'is, or dilma kevan de samuch la chazai, lo metama, or do we say, you know what, close enough. Close enough, meaning if you're seeing it a little bit before the 3 months, then halacha l'maisa, you're in the status of 3 months and you're okay. Amar Leis, he said to Midi hu taima elam mishum derasha kavela devira kaveidin Allah. So say, what's the reason why a pregnant woman is considered to be daya shaita? That we don't back up her status retroactively because we assume that she's not bleeding. Why is she not bleeding? Ultimately, again, like we said, her head and her body are heavy, which will say is the lashon again that the entire biological vitality of this woman ultimately is directed towards nurturing the fetus, and therefore again is not bleeding. So the Gemara says, "But inna dechazoi ein rosha kavid aleha ve'ein avira kaved." Well, see, interestingly enough, the Gemara understands that process of her head and body being heavy occurs when? Only when she enters into the 3 months. So in this case over here, halacha l'maisa, if she's before the 3 months, ultimately, again, we do not say daya shaita. So we'll say, which by the way, the simple answer that the Gemara is giving over here is like any status in halacha, you have to have a shear, right? We'll say everything in halacha has a shear, and you're always going to have those cases that what? Always have those cases that straddle the line. And so intuitively, sometimes make sense, don't make sense. But again, like any legal system, there has to be a line that's strong. So essentially what the Gemara is saying is like this. Daya shaita kicks in when? The moment she passes the threshold of 3 months pregnant. Whether she sees a minute before or a minute after she passes that threshold, that will determine her status. What's another very interesting case? So we'll say there was an older man who asked Rabbi Yochanan the following shayla. So we'll say Tes Amad Aleph right across from the Tosas Harash. So Higia is Vesta Bimei Ubra. So what happens? We'll say for the time for her Vesas comes in the midst of her pregnancy, v'lo badka. So we'll say we're going to get into this sugya. Remember again, we've alluded to this already. Vestos means appointed times. So we're going to discuss the entire cycles. We'll have a discussion about Vestos Daraisa, Vestos Darabanan, right? Difference, how do we look at cycles in halacha? But here's the following situation. Let's say a woman is, so on a basic level, if a woman has a Vesas, she has, whether it's a Vesas kavua or ino kavua, when a woman is expecting to become a Niddah, she has to do a bedika. That's the halacha. Again, we'll see all of this inside, but the case we're dealing with over here is as follows. A woman is pregnant, and her Veses comes. So let's do a simple idea. Let's say she becomes a Niddah every 30 days, in a Beininus, right? It's a simple case. So the 30th day comes along, and she's pregnant. V'lo badka, and she didn't do a bedika on the day of her Veses. Mahu, what is the halacha? What is the halacha? So the Gemara says, So the v'lo badka mau. So can we buy the aliba demand amar vestos daraisa? Mai. So we'll say, so you're asking me the question according to the opinion who holds that vestos are daraisa, that the concept of a vesas is biblical. If that's the case, buy bedika. Oh, Dilma didameh, kevan didameh misulakin lo ba'ibadika. So we'll say this is a yisod, this is the question. So if you hold that vestos are da'oraisa, right? And again, this is the cart before the horse a little bit because we haven't seen this sugya yet. But if you hold the concept of a vesas, of a regular cycle, is a din da'oraisa. So therefore, do we say that since it's a din da'oraisa, that creates a chazaka, a presumption that she's going to bleed? If so, she requires a bedika even during pregnancy. Oh, Dilma, kevan didameh misulakin, or do we say ultimately again because you assume that during pregnancy there is no blood, lo baya bedika. She shouldn't require a bedika. So we'll say here the shaila amrlei. So we'll say, by the way, it would appear that this shaila we've been talking about after 3 months, but the truth is, remember again, the din of 3 months is a din ultimately for what? For daya shaita. So, but again, a woman knows that she's pregnant earlier than that also, could know that she's pregnant earlier than that as well. So even again in the earlier months, the shaila will be, what do you do with the vesas? Right? Do we say that vestos daraisa, therefore she has to do a bedik, or do we say no, she knows she's pregnant? If a woman is pregnant, she has a chazaka misulak has damim. So says the Gemara, so what's the halacha? What's the halacha? So the Gemara says, we learned this, right? Meir Omer, listen to, this is a fascinating case. Im haisa b'machla v'yegia shas vesta v'labadka. If a woman was in hiding. Now we'll say, now the assumption over here is she's in fear of something. Rashi says, machmas pachad karkum o listin. A woman is in hiding. Now, we're talking about a woman who's in hiding for some significant, either karkum literally is a band of soldiers, right, or robbers. She's in hiding. And what happens? V'yegia shas vesta. This is a fascinating case. Let's say she's in hiding and the time of her veses arrives. V'lo badka, and she didn't do a bedika, tahora. We assume that she's tahora. Why? This is incredible. Shecharada misalakes es hadamim. Ultimately, again, because we assume that the intense fear that she is experiencing disrupts her menstrual cycle. So we'll say we know this to be a biological reality, that a variety of different things could impact a woman's menstrual cycle. Fear, stress, all of these things can do that. So the Gemara says, if she's in hiding and she didn't do a bedika, we assume that she's tahora. Now we'll say, understand, if you hold vestos are da'oraisa, which means that, what does it mean vestos are da'oraisa? That means if a woman has we'll call it a cycle, and she expects her period on a certain day, we assume that's what? It comes on that day. Which means that if she does a bedika and it turns out to be clean, so the bedika will reinstate her status as being a tahora. But if she doesn't do a bedika, and you know the vestos are da'oraisa, then she's tmeya. Then we assume that she's a niddah. So in this case over here, she's in hiding. She's experiencing intense fear as a result of the hiding. It was a time of her vesas. She didn't do a bedika. We assume that what? That she is tahora. Interesting, we assume that she is tahara. Why? So the Gemara says, ultimately, again, because her fear removes her blood. That's the literal lashon. So time bedika charada. So we'll say, so the reason over here that she's tahara, she didn't do bedika, is because there's an element of fear. Haleka charada ve'egia vesta v'labadka tmeya. So we'll say, but what do you see from here? It's only because of the presence of fear that we assume that she's not bleeding. But what you see from here is that what? Is that halacha lemaisa, You would assume otherwise that when her veses comes, that she bleeds. Alma, vestos da'araisa. Therefore, what do you see from here? That vestos are da'araisa. V'chevan dika charada dameha misulakin v'lo bai bedika. And it was only because of the presence of charada, of fear, that we assume that she's not going to bleed. And therefore, again, even though she didn't do a bedika by her veses, she will be tahora. So also let's go back to the case of pregnancy. Hachinami dameh misulakin v'lo bai bedika. Therefore, again, you'd have to say in the case of pregnancy that pregnancy is essentially like charada. In other words, what the charada case does for us is it establishes a rule, and the rule is that even if you hold vestos or da'araisa, if there is some other compelling factor or reality which tells us that she's not bleeding, even if she didn't do a badika on her veses, we assume that she's tahora. So therefore, again, the Gemara says pregnancy is another such example. When a woman is pregnant, we know that she does not become a niddah, and therefore, halacha lamaisa, if she did not do a badika on her veses, we assume that ultimately, again, she is a tahora. We'll discuss these halachos in terms of when does a woman have to do a badika during pregnancy, when does she not have to do a badika during pregnancy. Certainly, what appears over here is that certainly halacha lamaisa, once she reaches the threshold of 3 months, then it's hukar ubra. Once hukar ubra comes, then ultimately her status fundamentally changes, both vis-a-vis vestos, which makes sense. Why does her status change vis-a-vis vestos when she gets to 3 months? Because remember, again, Abba says we're going to see the magic number for vestos is 3. 3 makes a veses, 3 breaks a veses. So once she's pregnant 3 months, which means she hasn't bled for 3 months, that ultimately again uproots her veses, creates a new reality that she is misulek as damim. Her status during the first 2 months of pregnancy, what she does vis-a-vis bedikos and vestos, we'll see that sugya. But at least for our purposes now, here's what we know. We know that halacha l'maisa, she's dayashaita, which remember again is a din in taras, right? She's dayashaita ultimately after the first 3 months, and that halacha l'maisa, even if for argument's sake you want her to do a bedika during her veses in the first 2 months, if she did not do one, ultimately she would be tahora, because that case would be like the case of the woman who was in hiding and in fear, who is considered to be misulak es damim. Okay, incredible. Menika ad shetigmos. So also remember again, the next case in the Mishnah was the nursing mother. So the nursing mother case was very interesting. The menika was ad shetigmal es bina. So we'll say a woman who's nursing is considered to be, remember again, this is all daya shaita, still all for taras purposes. But remember, what daya shaita tells us is something very important, which means that this woman doesn't really have a chazaka that she's bleeding. And therefore, again, if she bleeds, we assume that the blood was present as of when? As of the time that you saw it. We don't back up her status retroactively at all. So the Mishnah says that when is a woman considered to be a menika? How long is she considered to be nursing for? Until she weans her son. Now remember again, the Mishnah then went on. What happens if halacha lamaisa nasna b'na l'menika gamal to omeis? We'll say what happens if she gives her child over to a wet nurse? So the mother is no longer nursing, or the child is weaned early, or chas v'shalom the child dies. So what's your status then? Rabbi Meir Omer metamim me'is la'is. Rabbi Meir says that at that point in time, once she's no longer nursing for whatever the reason, she goes back to her previous status. She no longer has daya shaita, but rather she's me'is la'is. And the Chachamim say no, daya shaita. Now we're going to clarify this. This is very interesting. Tanan Rabbanan. Menika shemes b'no v'soch esrei v'arba chodesh. An interesting case. Let's say a mother is nursing, and Rahman al-Islam, her child dies within 24 months. So I'll say, remember again, in the eyes of Chazal, the standard period of nursing was 2 years, 24 months. So we'll say, so what happens if the child dies within 24 months? So we'll say, what's that halacha? Hareyu kichol hanashim umetamim me'es leis, umepekida lepekida. So we'll say, so the halacha is essentially, once she's no longer actively nursing a child, she goes back to the regular status of any other woman, and therefore she is metamim me'es leis. Lefichach. So we'll say, now the ramification of that is something very interesting. Lefichach im haisa menikasa v'holechas arba o chamesh shanim. So we'll say, therefore, again, if she continues to nurse her child for 4 or 5 years, no judgments, just statements, right? So what? So daya shaita Rabbi Meir. So we'll say, so in that case over here, Rabbi Meir says daya shaita. So we'll say, so this is fascinating. So Rabbi Meir says everything is based on the Metzias. So a nursing woman is considered to be misulekes damim, right? A nursing woman is considered to be someone who doesn't normally menstruate. Therefore, again, if she bleeds, we say daya shait. Rabbi Meir says, okay, so how do you define a nursing woman? Rabbi Meir will say, a woman who nurses, right? It's not that complicated. If a woman is nursing, she is a nursing woman. If a woman is not nursing, she's not a nursing woman. Whether she nurses for 6 months or she nurses for 48 months, whatever it is, she is a nursing woman. Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Shimon, they disagree. They say as follows, say, Omrim, Dayan Shaitan Kol Esin Va'arba Chodesh. They hold, Rabbi said, this is actually very interesting. They hold that a woman is considered to be a nursing woman for how long? 24 months. And therefore, 24 months independent of what? Whether or not she actually nurses. So we'll say this is actually incredible. So essentially, what Rabbi Meir holds is that meinekes is a din in metzias. At the end of the day, are you nursing or not? If she's nursing, she's a meinekes. If she's not nursing, she's not a meinekes. Rabbi Huda, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Shimon will say meinekes is a status. So we'll see here the chilik, is it a metzias, is it a reality, or is it a status? The nafkamina will be, she stops nursing at 6 months. If you hold that it's a metzias, then she no longer has a din meinekes after that. If you hold it's a status, then she may have that status for a full 24 months independent of whether or not she's nursing. Now, also, you'll see why that is in just a moment. To which the Gemara says, lefichach, therefore, im haisa minikasu arba v'chamesh shanim. Therefore, if the mother was nursing her son for 4 or 5 years, mitamim me'es la'is me'bekida le'bekida. So we'll say, so therefore, again, according to Rabbi Yossi, according to Rabbi Huda, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Shimon, even if a mother continues to nurse her child for 3 years, 4 years, halacha l'maisa, once you leave the 24-month mark, you are no longer a meinekes. To which the Gemara says, L'div Rabbi Meir, so we'll say, what's the logic over here? This is actually very interesting. L'div Rabbi Meir, according to Rabbi Meir, dam ne'echar v'na'aseh chalav. So it's according to Rabbi Meir. So we'll say, again, remember, Chazal gave these explanations. These are not scientific explanations. This is how they're telling us halachically to view this. So they're telling us that what happens, we'll say, with nursing, so the blood becomes milk. So as long as she's nursing, there's no blood for niddah because the blood becomes absorbed into milk. What they're saying is, when a woman is nursing, so physiological changes occur, and as a result, she's not menstruating. Therefore, we'll say, again, remember, so what does that mean? Therefore, according to Rabbi Meir, as long as she's nursing, then what? She's dayashaita. She's not going to become a niddah. Right? So we'll say, remember, it's very important. That's according to Rabbi Meir, it's a din metzias. So as long as she is nursing, as long as she is expressing milk, that milk is taking away the blood. So it's a din. So her status as a meinekes is for however long she nurses. Whether she nurses for 6 months or 48 months, again, this is not some objective time frame. This is a metziastic definition. Rabbi Huda, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Huda, Rabbi Shimon, Evere misparkin ve'inafsha chozeres ad esim ve'arba chodesh. So this is very interesting. According to Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Shimon, what happens? We'll say Evere misparkin literally means her limbs become disjointed, and she is not restored to health until after 24 months. So we'll say it's actually very interesting. According to Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Huda, and Rabbi Shimon, they hold that essentially the body experiences trauma during childbirth. And they felt it takes a full 2 years, 24 months, for the woman's body to go back to normal. That's the amount of time it takes for her body, ultimately again to be restored to its full vitality. Therefore, during that time, everything is disrupted in terms of her normal cycle. That's the din of meinekes. And therefore, Rabbi said they hold that status applies. The din of meinekes, essentially, again, we call it a nursing mother, but really better stated is it refers to a postpartum woman, right? Meinekes is the status of a postpartum woman for 24 months. Her body is different, her physiological processes are different, and therefore halacha l'maaseh she's considered to be dayashaita whether or not she is nursing. Really incredible. To which the Gemara says, lefichach tarimer lamli. So we'll say, remember again, so if you notice when the Brisa quoted the shitos, so the Brisa quoted the shita, and therefore said lefichach. So for example, again it said, right, according to Rabbi Meir holds that halacha l'maisa din metzias. So if she's nursing, she's a meinekes. If she's not nursing, she's not a meinekes. Therefore, and the Brisa said lefichach. Therefore, if she was nursing for 4 or 5 years, ultimately, again, we say Daya Shaita for 4 or 5 years. So the Gemara says, why do you need the Lefichach? I don't need the illustration of the case. Once you say the rule, so the case is pretty explicit. To which the Gemara says, Mishum Lefichach Rabbi Yossi, Lefichach Rabbi Yossi. Because the truth is, I don't need the illustration of the principle of Rabbi Meir. I need the illustration of Rabbi Yossi. Why? Ulefichach Rabbi Yossi Lamali, Mao Detain Rabbi Yossi Tarti Islay. I'm going to say that Rabbi Yossi holds that both these. Rabbi Yossi holds that the din of Meinakes is both mitzias and status. Kamash Malon, no. Kamash Malon said, according to Rabbi Yossi, mitzias is a din in status, not a din in mitzias. Therefore, again, the status lasts 24 months, independent of her actual nursing activity. What's the Brisa that supports this? Dam ne'achar v'na'aseh chalav di Rabbi Meir. So what's the Brisa says? The blood coalesces or congeals and becomes blood. So let's again remember, this is the lashon that expresses that when a woman is nursing, her physiological vitality is devoted towards nursing the child, and therefore again becomes misulek as damim. So Rabbi Yossi says, Evirem misparkin ve'inafsha chozeres aleh ad esrin va'arba chodesh. Rabbi Yossi holds that no, rather it's the limbs that are disjointed. It's a din in status. Takes 24 months for the body to heal, and therefore her regular cycles are not restored until after 24 months. So we'll say, Amar Rabbi Loi, my time to Rabbi Meir. So what's Rabbi Meir's logic? So we'll say, again, Rabbi Meir's logic that dam ne'achar v'na'aseh chalav, that ultimately, again, we assume that the blood becomes the milk. This is incredible. Miyitain tahar mitames. We'll say the pasuk in Eov says, who can make something tahar from something tameh? Lo echad. Is it not only the one? Only HaKadosh Baruch Hu can take something that is tahar, tameh, and make it tahar. So what does that refer to? This is actually incredible. So the Gemara says, Rabbi Meir understands what both saying. Rabbi Meir, what does that refer to? That ultimately refers to chalav, that refers to milk. Because Rabbi Meir will say the chalav, so to speak, originates in the dam. Dam itself is normally tameh, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu makes the dam into something tahar. So we'll say this is incredible. So Rabbanan on Rabbi Yochanan, it's such an incredible insight. The Rabbanan say, no, it doesn't refer to dam. What does it refer to? Zu shichvas zera, shu tameh, va'adam nanotzer mimenu tahar. But say, isn't this an incredible statement? It refers to the drop of semen, to the drop of zera, which Rabbi say the zera itself is tameh, yet something that is tameh creates something that is tahar. Was it such an incredible? This is like the Mishnah Avos, right? The Mishnah Avos says that remember where you came from. So what does the Mishnah say? Bitipa srucha, a putrid drop. It's such a strong lashon. So it's incredible. The zera itself, which is tameh, yet creates something that is so absolutely tahar. Rabbi Loza says, Elu Niddah. So Rabbi Loza says it actually refers to the waters of the Para Aduma. That's the mi yitain tahar mitame. First, the waters of the Para Aduma. Why? Because the one who sprinkles it and the one who is sprinkled upon is tahar. Vinogea tame. But the one who touches the waters of the Para Aduma is going to be tameh. Umazeh tar, is that true? Says the Gemara that the one who sprinkles the water is tar. V'haksiv umazeh mehanidi yichabes begadav. The pasuk says that the one who sprinkles the waters of the Para Aduma has to launder his clothing, which Rabbi means he's tameh. My mazeh. But so what does it mean when we say mazeh, the sprinkler? Nogea. It refers to one who touches the waters of the Para Aduma. I v'haksiv mazeh v'haksiv nogea. But the pasuk says both the one who sprinkles and the one who touches both have to go ahead and undergo tahara process. Va'od mazeh by kibus nogea lo by kibus. Furthermore, we'll say the mazeh, does he require kibus and the nogea doesn't? Ella my mazeh. Rather, we'll say what does it mean when it says the one who sprinkles water of the paraduma? No say. It refers to the one who carries the water. Right? If you carry the waters of the Para Aduma, ultimately again you become tameh. I velichtov no say. So why doesn't the pasuk just say that? That the one who carries the water should become tameh. To which the Gemara says, Kamash Malan da'adidari keshir hazah. But also I teach you that you only become tameh when? If you carry enough water which could be sprinkled. In other words, we'll say carrying any amount of Para Aduma water doesn't make you tameh. Only if you carry the shear that needs to be sprinkled. To which the Gemara says, Hanicha leman damar hazah tzricha shir. So that makes sense according to the opinion who says that hazah, that sprinkling of the water, requires a shear. El leman damar ein tzricha shir ma'ikal mimar. But according to the opinion who says that the sprinkling of the water as a paraduma doesn't require a shear, what is there to say? To which the Gemara says, listen to this. Afilu leman damar ein tzricha shir. Well, see, even according to the opinion who says that there is no shear for the sprinkling of the water, this is incredible. Hani mili agava de gavra. Aval b'mana ba'ina shir. I both say, even the opinion who holds that there is no shear for the amount of water sprinkled, which is actually how we hold. There is no particular, that's on the Rambam Paskins, there is no specific amount of para aduma water that you have to sprinkle on the person who is tameh. But there is a shear for how much water there has to be in the kli. The utensil itself, you must, in other words, the service of para aduma requires, there's a shear for the amount of water. How much water do you need? Kidisnan, kama yubamayim v'yeban kedeaza. Plus, how much water, how much para aduma water do you need in order for the sprinkling to be effective? Kedeshiyitbal rashe gavulin. V'yaza. But there has to be enough. Remember again, how do you sprinkle the waters of the paraduma? With the azov, with the hyssop plant, right? You take the hyssop. So we'll say, what do? You dip the hyssop into the water and you sprinkle it. So we'll say, so ultimately, again, you need enough water that the tops of the hyssop plant could ultimately, again, become submerged in the water. So halacha l'maisa, the Gemara is saying over here, is that even though there's no shear for how much water has to get sprinkled on the person who's tameh, in order for the person who carries the water to be tameh, the water, he must carry the what? A shear of water. How much is the shear of water? Enough for the tops of the hyssop plant to be submerged in it. So we'll say, so this, of course, is the paraduma, that ultimately the person who gets sprinkled upon becomes tar, but other people who are involved in the service ultimately again become tameh. V'hainu damar shalom, this is what Shlomo meant when he said, Amarti achachma v'hi rechok mimeni. So Shlomo HaMelech said in Koheles, Amarti achachma, I am someone who speaks in so many different ways of wisdom, or I wanted to understand wisdom, urechok mimeni, and wisdom is so far from me. Shlomo HaMelech said this about what was? He said this about para aduma, that even though I'm such a wise man, I understand so many things, this is one thing I simply cannot figure out. Incredible. But we'll say, Ezu Hizakena. So we'll say, so that finishes the sugya, ultimately again, of the Mu'uberes. Next, and Menika. Menika, Mu'uberes, so far, so we have both of them. So says the Gemara, Ve'ezu Hizakena. So what's the definition of a Zakena? So we'll say, so what's the definition? Remember again, the next case in the Mishnah was a Zakena. So the Mishnah said, by Zakena, the Mishnah said, Ezu hi zakena. What's a zakena? Kol she'avra ala shalosh onos samach leziknasa. Any woman who went 3 periods of time without experiencing bleeding prior to the time of becoming old. Such a woman, if she were then to see blood, we would say daya shaita. To which the Gemara says, okay, Ezu hi zakena, fine. Heichi dami samach leziknasa. So we'll say, I understand if a woman doesn't see blood for 3 onos. So, but what does it mean, samach leziknasa? What does it mean prior to the time she becomes old? So we'll say, so the Gemara, you know what the Gemara is essentially asking over here is, when does a woman become old? Right, so the pashut answer to this is never, right? Never, right? Especially if this woman is related to you. Let's say, so that's number one. But from a halachic perspective, let's say this is incredible. When does she become old? Sa'am Rav Yehuda, kol shechaveroseh omer sola zakenahi. So let's say answer number one, when her friends call her old, that's when she becomes old. Rabbi Shimon, I will say this is really incredible. Rabbi Shimon says, on the days, kol shekoren lo ima ve'ina bosha. They will say anyone who they call ima. They will say, what's ima? Mother? Bubby, right? Anyone who they call Bubby or mother, and she's not embarrassed. Rabbi Shmuel Bar Yitzchak, Chad Amar, Kol She'eino Makpedes, V'Chad Amar Kol She'eino Bosha. So we'll say they both agreed on the criteria. It's anyone who's called grandmother, right? Anyone who's called ima. But both say so. But Rabbi one said Chad Amar Kol She'eino Makpedes. Anyone who's called grandmother and she doesn't mind. She's okay with it. The other opinion says anyone who they call grandmother and she's not embarrassed. So we'll say, my benai, what's an afkamina? Ikra benayu bosha ve'ena makpedas. What's an afkamina would be if what? If she's embarrassed, but she's not makbid. All right, so it's embarrassing to be called Bubby, but Lamaising, and she's not makbid on it. It's okay. So we'll say, so therefore, again, which is really quite fascinating. And we'll say, so essentially what we say is the metric, the common denominator amongst all these answers, the metric for being old is how other people view you. Isn't that incredible? Right? We'll say how other people view you. If in the eyes of other people you look old, you conduct yourself like old, you're old. This is quite fascinating. I'm sure there's got to be something to that. So the Gemara says, the Gemara says, V'kama ona. Rabbi say, how much is an ona? Rabbi say, so again, remember. So the Mishnah said, if she went through 3 onos and didn't bleed, right? Samuch leziknasa. How much is an ona? So we're going to get into this again as well. Ona beinonis. It refers to a stam ona. Rabbi says stam ona is 30 days. Shloshim yom. V'rava amar Rav Chisda esim yom. Rava said in Rav Chisda it's 20 days. V'lo pligi. They're actually not arguing. Marka chashiv. So we'll say, essentially, again, we're not going to get into this now, but within every month, there's pretty much like a 10-day, what we'll call Tumah window. What that means is 7 days of Niddah, and according to the Gemara over here, we're reckoning 3 days of Zava. So there are 20 days throughout the month in which she's Tahora, 30 days in a month in total. Now, again, we'll reconcile the difference that we saw between, is it 3 days of Zava, 11 days of Zava? We're going to get into all of this. But I will say, a point over here is they're not arguing. An Ona is 30 days. The Shaila is, do you look at the month in its totality, which is 20 days of Tara, 10 days of potential Tumah, or ultimately, again, look at the month just vis-a-vis the days of Tara, which is 20. Fine. So we'll say, so again, for our purposes here, what it means is a woman, so what's a zakena, who's daya shaita, a woman who has not bled for 90 days, then she sees at samach lezuknosa prior to the time. Now everybody's supposed to say, so 90 days, so she wasn't bleeding. Now what? Everybody's calling her Bubby, right? And the stress of being called Bubby, caused her to bleed a little bit. So what happens? So now again she sees blood. Sahalocha lemaisa, we say daya shaita. Tana abanan. Zekina shavra la shalosh onos. So we'll say if you have a zekina, ultimately again, and 3 onos passed. Virasa. So I'll say, remember again, that means 3 onos without seeing blood. We're assuming now an ona of 30 days to 90 days have gone by. She hasn't seen anything. Now she sees something. Daya shaita. So we'll say again, daya shaita. We assume she's a niddah now. We don't back up that status retroactively legabe taris. So we'll say that's part 1. This is a 3-part case. So she has 3 months go by, nothing. Then she sees something, daya shaita. Then we'll say another 3 months go by, nothing. And then she sees again at the end of those 3 months. So again we say what? Daya shaita. We'll say then another 3 months go by. And once again she sees something. Verasa. We'll say at this point in time, now again, the 3rd time that this happens, we no longer apply daya shaita, rather we apply me'es la'es. So the Gemara says, and I will say, now again, it goes, we're not talking about a case over here, we don't have to talk about a case where she bled at the same time. So we'll say, we're going to see, what's happening over here is, the way this case works is, 3 months she didn't bleed, then she sees something. 3 months she didn't bleed, then she sees something. 3 months she didn't bleed, and then she sees something. So over a 9-month period, she went 3 months nothing, then something. 3 months nothing, then something. 3 months nothing, then something. So the Gemara says, we're not talking about a case over here where when she did see blood, the sighting, right, occurred at equal intervals. But rather, even if halacha lamaisa, when she saw blood, it didn't occur at equal intervals. But ultimately, again, she saw it at this time after this 3 months, at this time after that 3 months, it wasn't equal. Nevertheless, we'll say by the time we get to sighting number 3, we say me'es la'es. To which the Gemara says, 1 second. Afilu pichsa v'lomi by kivna adraba. Ki kivna kavala vesta. V'daya shaita. Both say it's not true. Both say, remember again, as we're going to see, vestos can take on all shapes and forms. A veses means that there's regularity. But say regularity need not be monthly regularity, right? Regularity could be, I will say, if you have a case like this where a woman doesn't see anything for 90 days, for 3 months, then she bleeds, and then 3 months go by, sees nothing, and she bleeds again. If that sightings are occurring at equal intervals, we're supposed to say that is a veses. Once you have a veses, then what? Then you certainly die a shaita. The chitima rabbanon who the pligale Rabbi dosai the amri isha sheyesh la veses metam me'es leis. So we'll say maybe you're going to say that it's the Rabbanan who are arguing on Rabbi Dosa, and they will hold that even a woman who has a veses is metam me'is leis. So if that's the case, you should have quoted the case in the reverse. Say first wide line. Say not only are we dealing with a woman, ultimately again, who may have bled at different intervals, Ella afilu kivna. Even if she bled at the same exact interval after every 3 months, nevertheless, ultimately, by the time we get to sighting number 3, we're going to say me'es la'es, tani lo shepichsa v'lo sira afilu kivna. Therefore, you should say that whether or not she bled at equal or unequal intervals, halach and l'maisa, by the time we get to number 3, ultimately, again, we're going to say that she is metame me'es leis, and that would reflect the view of the Rabbanan, who say that even when who has a vesas kavua, or metame me'es leis. V'bayis, most another possibility of understanding that case. Hachi kamar v'lo shekivna ela shepichsa v'hosira aval kivna kavala vesas v'daya shaita umani Rabbi Dosi. So we'll say again 2 different ways of understanding that case. So halacha l'maisa, either we'll say essentially what we're saying is as follows. In this case over here, if she goes ahead and she experiences this situation where 3 months not bleeding, then bleeding, 3 months not bleeding, then bleeding, this occurs 3 times, so we'll say if it occurs at irregular intervals, everybody will agree that by the time she gets to sighting number 3, she's giving metame me'es leis. If it occurs at regular intervals, so we'll say, so that'll be a machlokes in a veses. So she will have established a brand new veses, and then there's a machlokes when a woman has a veses. Do we always say daya shaita, or do we say me'es leis as well? That's subject to a machlokes. Good. Rabbi Elazar Omer Kol Isha Shavra Aleh. We'll say just a few more lines, and we'll have to stop. Tanya Omer Rabbi Eliezer Chachamim Maaseh Beriba Achas Behislo. We'll say there was once a story with a young girl in Hislo. Hislo was a place. Shev Siko Shalosh Onos. She stopped bleeding for 3 months. Rabbi Eliezer holds that any time that a woman stops bleeding for 3 months, what's the lashon over here? Rabbi Eliezer holds any time a woman has stopped bleeding for 3 months and then she bleeds again, we say daya shaita. Rabbi say the logic. What's the logic? Once she stops bleeding for 3 months, essentially, what does that do? That gives her a chazaka misulakas damim, that she doesn't bleed. So therefore, once she sees the next sighting of blood, we say daya shaita. So they quote a story. One time there was a young girl in Hislo. She stopped bleeding for 3 months. And they brought the case before the Chamim. Then she bled. Rabbi said the unwritten part of the story is then she bled. So the shaila is, what's her status? Is it me'es le'es? Is it daya shaita? V'amru daya shaita. And ultimately, again, the Chachamim said daya shaita. So both say, first case, just like Rabbi Eliezer. Amru lo, they said to Rabbi Eliezer, no. Ein shas hadchak raya. Extenuating circumstances is not a raya. We'll say, what's the shas hadchak? Ike de amri shani b'tzura savu. Some say it was a time of famine. Ike de amri taras afish la'avida. V'chasha barna lehefsetar. So we'll say, so the context over here is as follows. Either it was a time of famine. So because it was a time of famine, I will say, the Rabbanan had to be. So remember again, the case over here is this girl was handling taras within the last 24 hours. If you'll me'es la'es, then what? All the taras become tameh. So if it's a time of famine, the Rabbanan were very reticent to be metame anything because there's a shortage of food. Or the other possibility is she dealt with an incredible, a voluminous amount of taras in the last 24 hours, and to disqualify such a significant amount of taras, they did not want to do. Either way, the Gemara says, halacha l'maisa, this was an extenuating circumstance, but lav dafka raya. Right, so we'll have to stop over here for today. Again, so we're stopping off in the middle of the sugya of Shitas Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer holding that halacha l'maisa, once she doesn't bleed for 3 months, if she sees again, ultimately she is misulek as damim. Continuing tomorrow, Mir Hashem.